Judge tells divorcee to pay her ex-husband half of the £160,000 cost of his trans surgery in millionaire couple's court battle. A judge has ordered a divorcee to pay half of her ex-husband's £160,000 trans surgery bill. In what is thought to be the first case of its kind, the judge said the surgery was a need and not a whim, meaning it was reasonable for the couple, who cannot be named for legal reasons, to split the cost. The wife, 60, claimed her husband's decision to transition led to the breakdown of their marriage, and therefore unfair for her to shell out £80,000 for the procedure. Oh, okay. So it was £160,000 total, and she has to pay £80,000 for it. But especially as that's the reason that she's divorcing, I feel like this is adding insult to injury. Like, you already lost your husband to a degenerate fetish, now you have to pay to lose your husband. That's kind of fucked. And during the hearing at Brighton Family Court, the husband, 58, argued it would be like saying someone who had cancer should not have the surgery, and that accordingly, the cost of the surgery should be met from joint funds. What a narcissistic little freak. Imagine comparing mutilating yourself to a cancer patient. Holy fuck. The pair first met in London in the late 1990s while working in the financial sector before marrying in 2002, when the husband was living as a man. Chat, everyone working in finance is a sociopath. I'm sure there are a couple people working in finance in the chat right now. I know what you are. 20 years later, in 2022, he revealed to his wife he was intending to transition to a woman and commenced hormone therapy at that stage, the judge said. The wife started divorce proceedings 2 months later. Damn! She did not last even 2 months. She was like, fuck this, I married a man, I want a man. The couple had accumulated £3 million in joint assets during their marriage and were described as having a very international lifestyle, living in several countries, in different continents, and purchasing properties in various locations. They shared 2 children who are now at university after they were privately educated. Oh, those poor kids. The husband's surgery took place last year after the couple had separated for 2 years and was paid using their joint money. The £160,000 cost was at the center of the legal dispute, which is understood to have cost the couple almost $1 million in legal fees. Yeah, sometimes it's about sending a message, not about the cost. I guess if I had that much money, I could also do sending a message lawsuits. During the separation, the husband claimed he could not afford to pay court-ordered maintenance to his wife and children. However, the husband, who has retained as a massage therapist and Reiki practitioner, spent £14,000 on an Amex card in 1 month, mainly on clothing, nails, jewelry, and restaurants, and got £13,000 worth of tattoos in 6 months. I'm not like a biologist or anything, but the math ain't math in here, man. Like, these numbers aren't adding up. You can't afford to pay maintenance to your wife and kids, but you can afford to spend like fucking £27,000 on your frivolous narcissistic maintenance. He argued his surgery should be treated in the way of any other medical costs which would ordinarily be met from joint assets. In his ruling, the judge said that the husband, who says his wife always knew he was trans, had provided medical evidence of gender dysphoria which had caused significant anxiety, depression, and distress. The wife said in her evidence that she was not aware that the respondent wished to transition until the end of the marriage. She added it was a devastating and big surprise and was deeply shocked when her husband stated that she intended to live her life as a lesbian woman. AGP. 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 Ain't no way. Ain't no way! I do not believe the lies coming out of this narcissist's mouth. She argued that the surgery costs should be paid out of his personal assets, saying that it was unfair she had to stump up the money as the decision to transition caused the end of the marriage. The husband responded, "You marry a trans person, you live with a trans person, you benefit from a trans person. They are suicidal and you support them." Oh, the emotional manipulation play, of course. Judge Stuart Farquhar, show me the princess, said that while this has been a hugely difficult and emotionally draining experience for the trans woman, the husband had shown no understanding whatsoever that her decision to transition to a woman has had an impact on anyone else, and particularly his ex-wife. If you literally notice as the judge that the man is incapable of understanding other people's feelings, why would you then grant him the money? Like, what? However, he said the court could not consider the reasons that a marriage broke down within financial remedy proceedings. That is like literally one of the reasons marriages break down, though. What do you mean by this? He said he was satisfied the surgery was meeting a genuine and deep-felt medical/psychological need and not carried out as a whim. The judge therefore ruled it was reasonable for the money to be spent out of joint resources. Holy fuck. Appeal, this can't be right. If he wants to transition, that's fine, but he should pay for it. He shouldn't expect his ex-wife to contribute. Don't understand the legal basis for the judge decision. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely... She is the one who has gotten harmed in this situation, not him. Dude is a nutter. Yeah, it gives me, like, the PTSD flashbacks to that one, like, really old guy who decided to, like, pretend he was a 14-year-old girl or some shit and become, like, a child to a adoptive BDSM family. So this guy, this is from 2015. Transgender father Stefonknee Wolscht leaves family in Toronto to start a new life as a 6-year-old girl. Miss Wolscht says she does not want to be an adult right now. That's crazy that these people refer to him with female pronouns. A Canadian transgender father left behind a wife and 7 children to begin a new life as a 6-year-old girl. Stefonknee, and he has it spelled Stefonknee, Wolscht, 46, had been married for 23 years when he realized he was transgender. He's now living with an adoptive family and says he does not want to be an adult right now. I can't deny I was married, I can't deny I have children, but I've moved forward now and I've gone back to being a child. I've moved forward, I went back. He said in a video series by the Transgender Project published by Daily Extra. Mr. Wolscht said his wife could not accept him as a transgender woman. He was told to either stop being trans or leave. To me, stop being trans isn't something I could do, he says. It would be like telling me to stop being 6'2" or leave. Feeling rejected by his family, Miss Wolscht left and now lives with his adoptive family, who he says are totally comfortable with him being a little girl. He explains how his new parents' youngest granddaughter wanted a little sister and decided Miss Wolscht should be younger than her. We have a great time. We color. We do kid stuff, he says. It's called play therapy. No medication, no suicide thoughts, and I just get to play. That's creepy. That's creepy. In an earlier part of the series, Miss Wolscht spoke of how he became suicidal and was hospitalized a month after taking part in the first Toronto Transgender March in 2009. After he was discharged, his wife accused him of harassment and assault and pressed charges against him to achieve a restraining order. Wow, I'm so surprised. In 2012, his eldest daughter invited Miss Wolscht to her wedding, but requested he dress like her dad and to sit at the back of the church and not address any members of the family. The day of his daughter's wedding, Miss Wolscht attempted suicide for the last time and was unsuccessful. He now receives support from the Metropolitan Community Church of Toronto, where the congregation is mostly made up of LGBT people. I don't want people to try and kill themselves. I think that's a very bad place to be, but also how fucking narcissistic. This is like something my mother would do, right? Like, if I was still talking to my mother and she hadn't already pretended to kill herself, right? If I announced to my mom that I was getting married, she would pull a stunt like this. Because this is just like, again, unrepentant narcissism. Like, this is genuinely something my mother would do. You know what I think is really fucking hilarious? This guy's top tweet. If you're divorcing or separating from a narcissist, you could be at high risk of being alienated from your children. What a hilarious thing for this guy to fucking retweet. Holy shit. They wrote a book in the last 10 years called Holding On by a Thread. So there's something down here that says kids songs for children. So it just shows kids songs for children, kids party music players. Old MacDonald had a farm, 1-2 buckle my shoe, she'll be coming round the mountain. Mary had a little lamb. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Bob the Builder. SpongeBob SquarePants theme song. The Hokey Pokey. Oh man, why is this person? Enjoy the site, have fun. Please always remember, although we try to offer support and we'll try to point you toward other supports available to you, I am not a therapist. I'm speaking from personal experience. Steph's Island Playtime is achieving more with our initiatives than ever before. Stephanie Wolscht is working on many exciting projects to help improve the lives of others, and are very proud of the progress we continue to make. Learn more about what we do, whom we help, and how we work every day to promote positive change by visiting resources. This person turned fucking age play fetish into entirely weird help site. Come play with us. Join our chat and chat in real time. Oh my god. Is this real? Hello and welcome to Steph's chat for littles and middles and tigers and bears. Oh my god, there's slurs there. Oh my god, there's slurs there. Okay. Alright, I'm glad that this chat is what it is and it's not, I love jacking off my girl cock, I'm horny as shit. I'm glad that there's not actual humans typing here and it's just all trolling. Alright, that makes me feel a bit better. Living 2 lives, dying 1,000 deaths. Is it from the copious amounts of American food you eat that have given you like 1 million necks? This is 30 minutes long! One of the ways that people justify oppressing people of any alternative gender or sexuality is by claiming that the social norm is natural. Quoted of Sandy Stone, the Journal of Transsexual Feminism number 8, by the way. That is, it originates from God, an authority to which there is no appeal. All this is, in fact, is a complete fabrication. There is no natural sex because sex itself as a medical or cultural category is nothing more than the momentary outcome of battles over who owns the meaning of the category. What is this fucking commie gobbledygook?
When my daughter was in grade 10, she's now 5th year in university, I sat her down to tell her that I was transgendered. And the first words out of her mouth was, "Dad, you're the last person on earth I would have thought was transgender."
Dad, you're literally like a butch figure from a 1960s family show.
Kids? Why should you be any different than us? I looked at them and I thought, but my kids love me. My kids really love me. And they were right. It wasn't any different.
Base daughter. It's Matt Berry in a dress.
The biggest myths.
Oh, BGM still on. Sorry, Bunker Cat is sitting on my mouse now.
Is that we're freaks. History has proven.
Can I speed this up?
Time and time again, giving more rights to more people has only created better societies. Have I ever experienced verbal harassment? Constantly.
Let's tune. Thank you for the dollary doodle.
They're unbelievable. You know, people will say the meanest, cruelest things just because they feel they have the right to because you're different.
You're not a 6-year-old child! 74,
I have not
okay.
actually experienced physical assault. It's never come to that. There's been a lot of attempted assaults.
38% of transgender people have experienced attempted assault. 32% have experienced physical assault.
Would have been an easier way to fix everything.
77% of transgender people have seriously considered suicide.
I suppressed it for 46 years. And I'll tell you, I was more suicidal then. They asked me at one point, like,
am I speaking at 1.5 times speed? I have to read the cards.
I said, really? I said, I don't want to die in this body. I don't want to spend eternity in this body.
Well, I mean, that's the only one you got, my guy.
My name is Stefonknee Walsh. I was born in 1963 as Paul Andrew Walsh in Scarborough, Ontario, and I'm now living as a trans woman. Transgender is the umbrella term that encompasses transsexual, transvestite, cross-dresser, genderqueer, all these different labels. Transgendered basically means that you don't fit within the gender binary, that your male-female definitions of gender do not apply to you. So if you are male to female, you are a trans woman. If you're female to male, you're a trans man. And there's also genderqueer and gender questioning, two-spirited, and those are all transgender terms.
Two-spirited is a Native American term, actually?
Courtrooms. I've experienced intimidation on the street. I've experienced intimidation.
Who could fucking intimidate this linebacker?
Throughout most of my life, I had no reason to have a resume or apply for a job. After coming out as transgendered, I've learned how to write a good resume and put together all of my abilities on a sheet of paper, and I haven't received one call.
43% of transgender people have experienced significant levels of discrimination in housing, employment, and services. Cat, no!
Especially as a teenager, that were polar opposites. The first few times that I went to Pride, I lied to neighbors in the hospitals.
Intimidation. Where were we? Here we go. Here we go.
The media stereotypes transgender people in simple things where they choose to make that an issue. We saw that with
Bunker
the
Cat
attacks recently.
Bunker Cat, not the keyboard.
Person in the Canadian Army, where the media made the front page all about women's undergarments that he was wearing, and sort of tried to draw a connection that this part of his life was a major contributing factor to the violence that happened.
You can't. You can't put this in your, like, we're just like you documentary and expect people to take it seriously. Why would you do this?
Draw a connection that this part of his life was a major contributing factor to the violence that happened. This is what people see, and this is what they believe. We lose all respect and all credibility because of the way we look. What people don't realize is in 1969, Stonewall was led by the trans people, actually. It was the drag queens and the trans people that led the march.
He's doing the rewriting history that the Marxists are, chat! Wow, who could have seen that coming? From someone who doesn't actually have dysphoria.
Over the years, since 1969, gay men were the first to get some rights, then lesbian women got some rights. Somehow in the last 40 years, the trans community has been left behind. I was born into a young immigrant family. I have 3 brothers and a sister. Growing up on a farm in Mount Albert back in the 70s was not an easy life. As the oldest son of a farm family, we did a lot of the guy things. I was driving tractors, cutting firewood, building stuff, chasing cows, riding motorcycles, all the regular farm stuff. Saturday mornings we always cleaned out all the barns.
Thank you. It's a man, baby. This is not a 6-year-old.
Loading up hay wagons, who could throw the bale one layer higher. Chasing the cattle, like quite often they break out of their paddock and they're out there getting into the corn or into a field they're not supposed to be.
Look at those
so
cows.
A lot of adrenaline.
Look at how cute they are.
Stuff we did as brothers on the farm that were unique to us, and it was our thing, and which was really cool. My mother did teach me a little bit of needlework. At one point we did some rug hooking and little crafty stuff. So that was nice.
You love when they say I'm not rewriting history, as they are in fact rewriting history with their yeah, I know, it's crazy.
And you took pleasure in the simple things. It was different, but it was a lot of fun. I turned 6 in 1969.
No wonder he's built like that. It's an Alberta farm boy.
I knew that I saw something there that I identified with. I think I knew to hide myself even at 6 years old. I knew I was different, and this wasn't normal. Girls looked a certain way, and boys looked a certain way. But prior to that, I
stuck to the bit. He was 10 years ago. Is he 16 now? That's a good question. I wonder if he ages in his like age play fantasies.
My older sister's hand-me-down dresses. I remember going out of my way to take this yellow dress out of the hand-me-down closet, and that was my first dress. But I knew enough to hide it.
Wait, hold on.
Soon I didn't even realize there were girls and boys. I think at 6 years old, with school and stuff, you became more aware. I soon started taking my older sister's hand-me-down dresses. I remember going out of my way to take this yellow dress out of the hand-me-down closet, and that was my first dress. But I knew enough to hide it. Like, it was not something that I asked my mom. I literally stole the dress and would only put it on if nobody was home.
There's a trend in autogynephiliacs that they have their like fetish awakening when they steal clothing from their female family members. Like the fact that they know it's wrong and the fact that it's their family members is like part of the fetish. They always steal clothing. Yeah. Isn't stealing women's clothing a sign of AGP? It is. It is. This is like a classic case.
And your adrenaline would be pumping. Like, you would be very nervous that if somebody came back, you'd quickly have to change. If my dad would have found out, it would have not been good. I started going through puberty and I realized that I was different than all the other boys. Then I started to wonder, am I gay? Am I attracted to the boys? Is that like, and so you start to explore things in your mind. Where do you fit in? And I knew what gay was. I knew what lesbian was. I didn't know what trans was. There was the odd thing in the news every once in a while that you would hear, and then you would take that and digest it and see how it applies to yourself. Going to school was interesting. Back in those days, there was still a lineup for the girls and a lineup for the boys. And quite often the girls had their play area and the boys played in a different area. And I know myself and my best friend, and even another friend that we had, would quite often play in the wrong area. High school, again, you do everything to be cool. You try to do whatever your friends are doing, and
that's why we had severely bisexual people at my high school.
And it seemed to work. The friends that I had were sort of in the middle, somewhere off the radar, and we sort of got away with it. By the end of the 60s into the 70s, long hair was accepted for boys. Quite often, you could hide things you were doing. At that point would have. I would wear girls' underwear, right? And I would just make sure that it wasn't showing. Towards the end of high school, I started dating a girl that went on to become my wife. And at one point, she saw me going through a Sears catalog and saw that I was looking at bras and underwear. So she questioned me about it, and when I explained it to her, the next day she came and she had bought me a skirt and a blouse and a camisole. And at that point, I think I fell in love. Once I had a girlfriend that knew I was transgendered or cross-dresser in those days and accepted me, it was easier to...
I don't remember this part. I don't remember his wife encouraging him. And now I feel the need to, like, find out if that's true. Because I don't take his word for it. If true, damn, she crazy.
Do things. She would obviously do the shopping for me. She would cover for me if anything, even if I slipped up and somebody saw something, she could say,
is that woman his wife? No, he left his wife and his 7 children because he no longer wanted to be a man. In his I think it was like what, his 40s, right? He was like 43 or something when he did it. He had been married for like 20 something years. He was just like, yeah, I'm actually going to leave all of you guys and I'm going to go be a 60-year-old girl for these other people.
You know, made excuses why I looked the way I did, and it made it easier. And plus having a girlfriend, I didn't have to question whether I was gay or straight anymore. It's the kind of town where you didn't come out. Quite honestly, the repercussions, even where I went to high school, we went to the closest city to go to high school. Back in the 70s, you didn't come out as gay or lesbian, let alone trans. And even prior to me leaving a year ago, one of our friends killed himself rather than come out that he was gay. The discrimination is so bad that my siblings fear for the way they'll be treated if people find out that I'm transgendered. So there were times where I would change my look just to try to blend in better. It was frustrating. To live in an environment like that, you actually...
Sir, this is a church.
...become transphobic and homophobic yourself as a way to disassociate yourself.
Oh, the internalized phobias, chat.
...from that label. And quite often, I found myself saying and doing things, especially as a teenager, that were polar opposites. The first few times that I went to Pride, I lied to neighbors and friends where I was going. I didn't want them to know I was in Toronto for that reason. And a few times, people had even said, oh, you were down in Toronto for to be down the village, to hang out with the gay people. And I denied it out of fear, because you don't want to be rejected. That actually happened at a church meeting up there. Somebody said it, and rather than deal with it, I chose to deny it. Being transgendered tested my faith like nothing else ever could. Me and God got along really good because there were no big floods or any catastrophes in my life. And then not just being outed as transgendered and, you know, being told by a priest that I'm possessed by the evil one, and then ending up leaving my church because I can't find anybody that wants to hang around with me or let me volunteer or anything. My prayers quickly went to, you promised
my siblings would fear for how they would be treated if people found out I was trans. Translation, I'm an embarrassment to my family and they don't like to talk about me. True.
Or give me a cross that was too heavy to bear. You lied. So going through high school, yeah, we did do the boyfriend-girlfriend dating stuff, and secretly I was still dressing and getting better at hiding it. Towards 19 and 20, when I was just finishing high school, I actually would dress up and come to the city. Here in Toronto, there was a group for cross-dressers called Take a Walk on the Wild Side, and I met people there that were like me, and my wife and I were just dating at the time. We would come down here on a date where I would be able to be the girl. And it worked. We got married in 1986.
What the fuck is wrong with the wife?
Young and optimistic, and started a family right away. It seemed like a really good life. By the time we got married, I was already a licensed mechanic. I had already bought some land that we were to build our house on later. We were playing the role.
They can afford to build a fucking house? Holy shit.
In the home, it was safe. It got to the point where I could dress up anytime at home, and my wife would cover for me, my girlfriend at the time. So if she was there, you know, she could just say, oh, he just went to the bathroom, he'll be back in a couple minutes, you know. Whereas if there's no one there to say where you are, everybody's checking doors, you know, especially on a farm, say the cattle broke out or something's broken, we need you out here right now. If my girlfriend could say, oh, he's just going to the bathroom, then they would just go back, well, tell him to come out when he is ready. In the end, I just identified myself as a male lesbian. If that even exists, but
a male lesbian, if that even exists. It doesn't, sir.
How she felt, I'm not sure. I thought she had accepted me for that, but obviously 23 years later, she asked me to make a choice, and she had grown tired of it after all that time.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's some little knobs missing in this story. If she was like being a filthy enabler the entire relationship, I can't see that randomly after 20-something years she would just be like, all right, you either choose this or choose your family. We're missing some context here.
Fine balance between killing yourself because of what other people say and do to you, or killing yourself because of the things you do to yourself. And there's a stress that's created from suppressing who you really are.
What?
That is as bad as the stress of knowing that you're going to get discriminated against. I remember when my children were born, I I would feed them and I would hold them right in the hospital before they even left the hospital. I felt like I was their mom. And I ran my business from home so I could raise my children. Life is expensive with the kids.
Why would you feel like their mom? Dad is an important role.
Having a wife in university, I would schedule my jobs around them. So if the baby would wake up, they would be with me in the shop, or I would be with them in the house. And if they were napping, we'd have a baby monitor, and I'd be listening for them to wake up, and I'd fix the car while they were doing that. So it was pretty hectic. I think when people came, if we weren't being disrupted by customers or commitments where we had to be somewhere, it would be, oh, we got to feed the baby. We got to change the baby, or I got to start dinner. In the end, we were really tired. Times 7, right? It was cool. It was a lot of fun. They say the darndest things, and they look at the world uniquely. Out of the 7 of them, no 2 are the same. They're all their own little individual person, even as babies, and they do things differently, and they are just special. They just have their own special way of expressing who they are. Eventually...
Does anyone else find the way that he described, like, tiny babies a bit creepy? I don't know, it's kind of weird to me, just a little bit, just a little uncomfortable with that description.
I told all my children that I was transgendered. In the beginning, I told my oldest daughter, she was in grade 11, I think it was like 2004 or 2005, but by 2007 I'd taken a course in Toronto at Sherburne Health Gender Journeys, and they had told me that the younger you tell them, the better, so they don't, if somebody gives them some bad information, they already know.
The younger you tell your children that you're trans, the better. Oh boy. Oh no.
That my dad is transgendered, so they can process it differently. So by 2007, I told all my children that I was transgendered, and for the most part, they took it pretty good. Our middle child had the biggest issue with this, and he was just starting puberty, so I understand that's a time when they're trying to figure out who they are, and now to find out that your dad isn't who you think your dad is, it would be very confusing. So for him, it wasn't fair. His 2 older sisters knew already, and the 3 younger kids, they weren't at that stage yet, so they didn't have to process it like he did. For the most part, the kids were pretty good. And,
yeah, that's true. If you propagandize them while they're young, they won't know any better, right?
The times when they were frustrated, I understand. It's an adjustment, and I think they would have preferred that it not be the way it was. But if that's the way it's going to be, then they would make the best of it, and they're good. The rest of them are all good allies.
Does this count as a late life crisis? This is a midlife crisis. He was in his 40s.
90s, whenever the internet came along. Prior to that, we had no information for LGBT people, or very little information, and almost nothing for trans people. As I learned more, the first thing that happened was chat rooms. So people would get on the internet and chat, and then once in a while people would talk about the 519 or talk about Sherburne Health, or drop little hints that there's more things going on in Toronto than we know about. And as I heard about gender journeys in Sherburne Health,
that he was in his 50s. I think he's in his 50s now. He was, yeah, because I think he's in his 50s now, because he was 43 in the article we read in 2015. So he would be 53 now, because I think this is from 2025. Oh no, this was 11. Okay, so he's still in his 40s when this came out. This is old. I've never seen this. I would like to hear the wife's side of the story. Yeah, me too. Me too. Good luck. She won't talk to anyone about marrying a trans woman. We're Catholic, and the church still promotes hate towards transgender folk. That sounds a lot like you lied about how your wife felt about things in this video. That sounds a lot like, don't go searching for the truth, just believe me. Holy shit. We were married 23 years. She never asked me to stop being trans before May 20th, and she never said or hinted that she wanted me to leave or that she wanted to end our marriage. Yeah, I just, I would need to hear her side of the story to believe that. I'm gonna be real fucking honest with you, buddy.
And as I pieced together that information, I went down and inquired into joining. The information they had was the best information you could get at that time.
He'd be 62
now? There weren't a lot of studies
now?
done, so we had a lot of statistics from the United States, but they had access to doctors that could come and speak to us. They had access to different groups. They also created a social network for ourselves so we could talk to each other. And so there was like this place where you could not only get information, but once you'd finished the gender journeys, you could actually be empowered to bring information out into the community to people who hadn't taken the course yet. And in 2009, in the spring, I did attend 2 conferences. These conferences were excellent ways to network, especially when I went to Port Angeles in Washington. There were people from all over the States and all over Canada. And so we brought information from places where it was very safe to be trans, and there were people there from areas where it was dangerous to be. You could be killed for being trans. So there was a huge range of opinions and also different protocol, so to speak, of how to transition depending on how LGBT friendly your area was.
How come every time they like do a cut, they just show him walking forward, and it reminds me of the Wide Ted Cruz meme? Can this be explained? Book of Grudges, thank you. So wait, the wife encouraged this weird shit early on, and then a surprise when he destroys their family later on? He's horrible, but she's dumb? I mean, if she did encourage it, then yeah, I would say she's fucking dumb. But we don't know if she actually did. Because the only thing we've heard that I would believe is that she gave him the ultimatum of like, you either keep us as a family or you keep being a transgender 6-year-old. And he obviously chose his fetish over his family. But he explains here in this video that she like encouraged him since they started dating, and like maybe she did, maybe she is a retard, but I don't know. I'd like to hear it from her mouth, you know?
Most inspirational. They had one award, which was amazing because I was very unconventional. I wasn't doing things the way we had thought they needed to be done, and so I was pushing the envelope a little too much. And unfortunately, when I came home, I found that the woman that sent me off was not the same person that received me back into our family.
What?
So, we left. My wife was encouraging me to go to these conferences and, to participate and have a little Stefonknee vacation, And when I came home, right from when she picked me up at the airport, she was furious with me. Within 2 days, she asked me to leave. My oldest daughter just had our second grandchild. She was born a day before I returned. I was all excited to come home and see my granddaughter. And I just found all this hostility towards
That doesn't sound like a woman who was encouraging you to do this shit for decades, man.
Me from my wife, and even I started to feel it from the kids, and then I realized that I was no longer welcome in my house. And by I came home on the 18th. By May 20th, she asked me to either stop being transgender or leave, and so I started looking for a place to live in Toronto. On the one hand, I guess I'm grateful that I had 23 years with my kids, and was able to find this area where we could make it work. But on the other hand, I live with the fact knowing that it was a lie. I was appearing to look a certain way to conform to society, and
didn't he earlier say his family were great allies? He did. He did. And somebody else mentioned in Twitch chat, K Dolo here said, I can't get over the comment. She encouraged me for decades, but she's Catholic and she hates trans people. Yeah, it's full of contradictions, this explanation is. Don't think about it, bigot.
46 years of my life, I became homeless. I didn't know how to be homeless, so
I didn't know how to be homeless. Yeah, I don't think anyone really knows how to be homeless.
Suicide would have been an easier way to fix everything. I had a lot of life insurance on me, and so I thought if I kill myself, then the kids will be happy, and I wouldn't have to deal with this anymore. Like, the problem would be solved. I was admitted to the hospital for a couple of weeks for depression, and while I was there, my wife and dad came and took my car away, and so now I was really stranded. When I came out of the hospital, my roommate, I'd rented an apartment down here, and the roommate had changed the locks, and so I'd lost all my belongings. I found myself in the...
That's kind of fucked of the roommate to change the locks, so like he lost all of his shit. That's kind of fucked up. I don't know why you would do that.
Kirsche Crisis Center and then a homeless shelter. And within a month of that, I got a call from York Regional Police. They had issued a warrant for my arrest on 7 different criminal charges, all stemming from our separation. And I found myself for the next 10 months trying to defend myself against criminal proceedings, trying to cope with life in a shelter, medicated for depression.
Well, what were the... Hold on. You can't just say that you were dealing with criminal proceedings. What were the criminal proceedings for? Hold on. Wait a minute. You can't just skim over that.
Trying to create some kind of separation agreement. So I found myself frustrated and up against all these barriers and issues that I didn't even understand. And so the thoughts of suicide never left. I just became so frustrated and so tired. So here I was in court, without family, without friends, and in the end I was convicted of 2 of the 7 charges. I am on probation for 2 years. I had a criminal record on July 16th, 2010, and before that, for my whole life, I'd been a law-abiding, upstanding citizen.
What? Am I missing something?
Without family, without friends, and in the end I was convicted of 2 of the 7 charges. I am on probation for 2 years.
Okay, 2 of the 7 charges for what?
July 16th, 2010, and before that, for my whole life, I'd been a law-abiding, upstanding citizen. My kids are good kids.
Are we? Do I have to like look this up myself? I don't think I'm gonna be able to find his fucking criminal record, but I'd like to know. Now, Redux has Father of 7 who left family to live as transgender 6-year-old girl holds event at world's oldest LGBT bookstore following book launch. This was last year in September. A Canadian man in his 60s who abandoned his wife and children to live as a 6-year-old girl is currently promoting his memoir about transition. Stefonknee Wolscht, formerly known as Paul Andrew Wolscht, is a father to 7 children and was married to his wife for 23 years before claiming to be transgender in 2009. According to Wolscht's website, Holding On by a Thread is described as a gripping memoir that recounts the turbulent journey of his life. The book was published in June and the hardcover version retails for just over $50 USD on Amazon, but has also been stocked at Barnes & Noble and will soon be available at Waterstones in the UK. And here's a tweet of him saying, "I'm proud to announce that my LGBT memoir, Holding On by a Thread, will soon be available." How interesting that he portrays himself as a doll. Holding On by a Thread is a heartbreaking and eye-opening memoir that combines the tragic consequences of transitioning from male to female with the hopelessness of isolation and lost love, reads the synopsis. Set in the heart of a major city, the story revolves around the Wolscht family and their struggle with Paul's transgender issues as she becomes Stefonknee. The description continues, as Stefonknee grapples with her identity, readers are immersed in her experiences of isolation, lost love, and the relentless struggles she faces in her new life as a woman. Through the eyes of Stefonknee, readers are taken on a journey of discovery, suffering, and unexpected tragedy as she endeavors to create her new life as a woman coping with mental illness, homelessness, and incarceration. Incarceration for what, though? Described as a beautiful autobiography that captures the human spirit through the eyes of a persecuted transgender individual, the synopsis concludes by adding that the book seeks to expose systemic shortcomings, inclusivity, and human perseverance. Book launch of Holding On by a Thread, Glad Day Books on July 24. Okay. In addition to being sold by Amazon and Barnes & Noble, a digital version of the book is also available at the major Canadian book retailer Indigo and other bookstores across the globe. Since the book's release, Wolscht, who used to be a mechanic, has been promoting the book at various bookstores, including a launch party last month hosted by Glad Day Bookshop, the world's oldest LGBT bookstore located in Toronto, Ontario. On Instagram, Glad Day described the book as revolving around the Wolscht family and their struggle with navigating their loved one through transition. But despite the heartwarming description, there are some discrepancies in Wolscht's story. At least I'm not the only one. Prior to coming out as transgender, Wolscht was a father to 7 children and had been married to a woman for over 2 decades. In his memoir, he claims that after telling his wife that wanted to begin living openly as a woman in 2009, she demanded he move out. This, again, him claiming this doesn't sound like she was supportive and buying him women's clothes. This doesn't sound like the same thing. Stefonknee, 61 transgender princess in Toronto. Is this a fucking FetLife profile? Is this a fucking FetLife, brother? My profile shows sub, but that is the closest I could find to a girly girl. Alpha sub would best describe me in a world of submission and service. I went through a rough time for a while, but now I have a loving daddy who keeps me safe as a femme little girl 24/7. I am where I belong. A girl who becomes a little girl when I need to be. How fucking creepy. Also, I'm just gonna say this. I've said this before, like, it doesn't matter to me if it's like a VTuber doing it or not, bro. Adults wearing pacifiers, I don't care if you're at a rave and you're doing it for drug purposes. Adults wearing pacifiers is fucking creepy. Alright? Like, I can't with the pacifiers, man. I really am trying to be a good little 6-year-old girl, but it is very hard sometimes. Chat, reading this makes my skin crawl. Daddy is okay with that. We are very happy, and we are teaching the world what a queer femme girly girl really is. If you wish to meet and play with us, be prepared to immerse yourself in our happy, kinky poly family. You can't say you're a 6-year-old girl and also queer, fucking, kinky, happy poly family, please. This is all like... Taking people like this guy seriously and actually playing into him claiming to be transgender is what gives people with actual dysphoria a very poor perception by normal people. And it's really unfortunate that people like this guy are taken seriously. This is just disgusting, man. And it's like, I don't want to read this shit, but it's very easy to get people to just be like, oh, you're just transphobic. You're transphobic to this brave transgender 6-year-old. And it's like, no, This is very fucking clearly a fetish, and this guy is claiming to be transgender so that everyone has to participate in his fetish, otherwise they'd be labeled a bigot, and it's in Canada, so probably taken to court. I've now purchased a sewing machine, a serger, lots of pretty fabric, and enrolled in various sewing classes, so I can create sissy outfits that I previously could only dream about. I've recently sewn a cute pink purse, and we are about to start our first skirt. I attend classes as Paul and will only wear dresses to school. So he doesn't even attend his classes as Stefonknee, he attends them as a man, but only wears dresses as a man. How anyone can read this and not come to the conclusion that it's a fetish and this man is a degenerate freak, I have no idea. My teacher is amazing and I love making her laugh. I finally found my purpose in life and can't wait to show the world the wonderful ideas that rattle around in my imagination. I hope to start making doll clothes as well, so sissies can twin with their favorite dolly. Feel free to send your sissy fashion ideas to this freak's email. Please don't! Oh my god, please tell me he's an adult school. It better be. I mean, I can't imagine it wouldn't be, right? In a post made to sexual fetish platform FetLife, Wolscht says that in 2009, a warrant was issued for his arrest in connection to the threats. What? Wolscht explains he was ultimately detained by York Regional Police on 7 charges, following a report being filed by his wife. I was charged with uttering threats because in a moment of despair and frustration, I wrote a note to my wife that stated, should she separate me from my children and not play fair, I would fight her for everything and burn down our house. That's something sane people do. It's a very sane thing. Very, very womanly thing to do there, Stefonknee. Despite this admission, Wolscht reasserts that he believed he was being discriminated against for being transgender. Even if he was being discriminated against is not grounds to burn down someone's fucking house with your children inside. Holy fuck! AGP and threats, no way. Hold on a second. This tweet of mine from February. Once it's realized that most trans activists are just autogynephiliac males or ideologues pushing their political views with an identity shield to prevent criticism, all the power-hungry threats and graphic murder fantasies make a lot more sense. Wow. Why, it just continues being relevant. He adds that he believes his wife and York police were teaming up and conspiring to prevent him from accessing his children, and that the Newmarket Court for for Family and Criminal Hearings forbade him from contacting his former wife and children. Though Wolscht claims to be a victim, Redux has viewed a public comment made on Facebook by one of his 7 children, in which she details the family side of the story and reveals that Wolscht had attempted to force his children to participate in his transvestism. I was 13 when you left, the girl says. There were days that if I didn't want to paint your nails, you threatened to stop helping me with homework. You say that you couldn't handle the fact that we filed a restraining order. People need to know you can't get a restraining order for being of a different mindset. You were a physical threat to mom, and the day you left, more than one of your children thought you were going to come back to harm us. The year after he left his family, Wolscht began surgically and medically transitioning. He moved to Toronto, where he lost his job as a mechanic and lived in homeless shelters. He has said that he was housed with 5 women during this period. After 2 years of living in shelters, he was able to secure an apartment, and in 2012, he was quote-unquote adopted by an elderly couple he met on FetLife. The trio began participating in play therapy, where he would take on the persona of a 6-year-old girl during their BDSM activities. I have a mommy and a daddy, an adopted mommy and daddy, who are totally comfortable with me being a little girl. And their children and grandchildren are totally supportive, he said at the time, adding that he used to identify as an 8-year-old girl, but was asked by his sibling to be 6 so that he could be the younger child in the home. I think it's really gross when someone parades around a fetish and unwittingly forces other people to participate in it, right? Like if you have like a burping fetish and people don't know that, and you incorporate burping into like stuff that you do because it's a fetish for you, and other people are just unwittingly part of your fetish now. It's another layer of fucking evil when you bring actual children into participating in your fetish in this way. Again, I cannot understand how people see this man as anything other than a fetishistic creep. You're all about being able to do your thing, but please keep it to yourself. Yeah, fucking in the privacy of your own home as consenting adults. In 2015, Wolscht made international headlines after appearing in a documentary produced by Extra magazine called The Trans Project, where he discussed his transition and age regression. Following the release of the documentary, Wolscht briefly went missing, with Toronto police launching an investigation into his whereabouts due to concerns he was in danger. And this was in 2015. So he was 52. I'm sorry, my bad, chat. For some reason, I thought he was like 43 in 2015. I might have read that age for someone else and gotten mixed up. I'm bad at numbers. So yeah, in 2015, he was 52. However, Wolscht came forward to police after 4 days to admit he wasn't missing, but had been deliberately hiding. People have threatened to kill me, shoot me, cut my head off, throw me in the oven, he claimed. They said that I should kill myself. There's hundreds of different messages. The worst ones threatened to mutilate me. I mean, they can't do that. You already did, right? Since the documentary's release, Wolscht had become a vocal trans activist and frequently attends pride parades and LGBT events in Ontario. Wolscht marched at this year's Toronto Pride Parade, where he carried the flag of Uganda in support of LGBTQS2I refugees. Why the flag of Uganda?
Do you know the way?
He cannot show you the way. He does not know the way. He does not have a queen. Disturbingly, Wolscht has claimed that he is welcomed into classrooms to educate children on gender and sexuality. That is disturbing. In an exchange on X, in which one user expressed criticism of Wolscht's sexual proclivities, he replied, "We have a long way to go. Perhaps I'll teach a TERF's kid soon." And the tweet shows someone named Cookie Mueller saying, "At least he stays away from his children now." And then he replies, "Actually, unlike you, I'm welcomed into classrooms to educate children on gender and sexuality." How did we get here? How did we get here as a society literally forced into playing pretend with fetishists trying to use other people's mental condition as a cudgel to be able to perform their fetishes in front of children? Like, how did we get here? What fucking happened? Wolscht has previously stated that the thought of being a woman or pregnant caused him to become aroused. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind! Literally every fucking time he opens his fucking mouth, it's literally just a fetish! During a podcast, he told the hosts he had developed an erection from the thought of being a girl. That is autogynephilia. You are not transgender. Stop harming dysphoric people by using them as a shield to force people into participating into your fetish. I hate this thing. I don't even want to call him a man anymore. He doesn't deserve that. Wolscht is a member of a 200 online community on FetLife. Among them are multiple groups for the so-called adult baby diaper lover, or ABDL community. Others are dedicated to age regression, BDSM, cross-dressing, sissification, lactation fetishism, he is Chris Chan for real, and castration pornography. Hey, do you guys remember that castration pornography ring that was arrested in the UK because they were posting videos of questionably consensual castrations online? Do you guys remember that? I remember that. I went through a rough time for a while, but now I have a loving daddy who keeps me safe as a femme little girl 24/7. I am where I belong. A girl who becomes a little girl when I need to be, reads Wolscht fetish account profile. I don't really want to read the happy kinky poly family paragraph again, so I'm just gonna skip over that because we already read it, but god fucking damn. We have stared into the abyss at this moment. What is this crime report here? What is this crime report? Crimes committed by transgender people? Gender trender, trans woman Stefonknee Wolscht. Gendertrender.wordpress.com is no longer available. Unlucky! But at least we did get some of the information of him threatening his family and them, I guess, taking him to court over it, so. Trans woman Stefonknee Wolscht lives life as a 6-year-old. The 6-year-old girl has some issues. Okay. According to him, he looked after the kids while his wife worked as the principal of an elementary school. Oh. He was also self-employed as an auto mechanic who worked on cars in a garage on the family property, mainly overnight after his wife got home. Is this the danger that happens if your wife is the breadwinner? You might just, like, turn into a complete fucking sissy and start stealing your family's clothes? Like, I don't understand. In 2009, he was charged with 14 criminal offenses of assault, uttering threats, criminal harassment, and criminal mischief. His wife and their 2 oldest children, then in their late teens, testified against him. He was found guilty of assault and uttering threats. The court also issued a 2-year restraining order against him that applied to his wife and all 7 of his children. He and his wife are divorced. He moved to Toronto on parole and became a transgender activist. He was employed, apparently, at the 519 Community Centre as a trans consultant, until, according to trans activist Justin Travis Julian Goins, now named Patience in B. Newbury, he was terminated. What the fuck are these names? Patience in B said she has demonstrated herself as a deeply narcissistic and self-absorbed, putting her own struggles as a white trans woman ahead of the struggles of trans women of color in Ontario. They always eat their own, chat! Oh my god. Of putting her own attempts at suicide in front of murdered black and brown trans women at TDOR gatherings. This would otherwise seem like a quibbling over her character. When she was employed, however, as a trans consultant for a queer-focused community center and assigned to work alongside a few trans women of color, she had a tendency to hijack client and community presentations and redirect these back toward herself, implying that she was the most oppressed trans person there was. Eventually, this cost Stephanie her job. That's because Stephanie is not trans. They are an autogynephiliac, and it's like, why does nobody call this shit out? Clown world. Paul, or Stephanie, became active in the Occupy Toronto encampment, of course, and then crashed in his resulting SJW bona fides to organize the first alternate trans pride march in Toronto, in protest of the high cost of beer at the main event, and the failure of the planners to center attentions on individuals named Stephanie. What the fuck am I reading? MPP Cherry DeNovo thanked our little girl by name in testimony at the passage of Bill 33, which stripped Canadian women of legal sex status and all rights therein, replacing protections for women to be housed separately from males in prison, etc., with the rights of men like Stephanie to wag their dick around the women's locker room. Obviously a biased article, but you know, I'm here for it. This guy deserves it. Women's domestic violence shelter or women's prison. I tweeted at MPP DeNovo inquiring whether she would be introducing a bill to protect Stephanie's rights to have his age identity protected in public accommodations such as children's tables at Chuck E. Cheese, access to height and weight restricted amusement rides, and incarceration in the juvenile justice system if convicted of another assault. MPP DeNovo had not yet responded for comment at the time of this post. I mean, fair questions, to be real. Sarcasm and irony in that last sentence. Yeah, no, I mean, those are fair questions, you know? Will you force the 6-year-old girl into an adult male prison? Valid question. Eschewing any transgender hormonal or surgical modification treatment, Paul utilized his newfound rights as a male under DeNovo's Bill 33 and took a spot in a women's homeless shelter on the basis of his gender feels, and began attending services at the MCC Church. There, he spouted tales of his abject transgender trans child existence to kindly folk who put love into action, and who turned a blind eye to his simmering rage, manipulative lies, and compulsive autogynephilia. Oh my god, I love it when people call out a spade, you know? I have lost my children, have been disowned by family, church and friends, been homeless. I've lost all I worked 46 years to achieve. I am unemployed for the first time in my life. I am now a convicted criminal. I suffer from PTSD and I'm constantly thinking of killing myself. Well, in the first womanly behavior he shows, he does not know how to take accountability for his actions and decisions. Incredibly, his children attempted to stay in touch with him, but he responded with horrific abuse. His eldest daughter tried to have him at her wedding with the caveat that he toned down the lolicon or Brolita gear, fucking Brolita, and not make a scene. I don't want a commotion started or anything. I really want the focus to stay on me and David. Would that be okay? He waited until the day of the event and then on his daughter's big day staged a dramatical suicide attempt. He just like my mom, for real. After that ugliness, a group of folks from the MCC Church started a support group for him. Not a group of folks who joined together for support, but a group whose goal was to support him. Singular. Like a team. Team Stephanie. Team, let's sit around a table wasting an hour every week giving attention to an unrepentant, violent, and abusive, able-bodied white male porn addict. It looks like the project hit the end of the road when one of Stephanie's younger, in biological, cis-chronological age, daughters took a chance and texted the raging, abusive, pervert, psycho dad on Father's Day. Bro, the woman who wrote this is fucking angry, and I am here for her anger. Rather than graciously accept the gesture, Paul unloaded with all sorts of abuse. Her last text, please text me if you want to, but I'm not ready for a call. Happy Father's Day. His response, I'm going to kill myself. Bye. Once again, he just like my mom, for real, for real. Former Team Stephanie, the nicest folks ever, recoiled in horror at his calm recitation of the messages off his phone. But I literally was ready to slit my throat, he relayed. Yeah, well, keep it to yourself, snapped church deacon and former team organizer as the rest of the participants averted their eyes, speechless. If you want to get rid of those last few guests at the end of a party, or you want to see what a 3 a.m. Todd Haynes drug company infomercial for assisted suicide might look like, you can watch all of this play out in gory detail in the video Paul Wears Dresses at the bottom of this link. What? Apparently, Stefonknee was arrested again in March for God knows what. This was in 2015, once again. Marginalized Toronto trans woman tried in Newmarket court without lawyer 6 years ago, arrested again. How is it that every time they lash out and attack people, they always try to make themselves the victim? And there's always a handful of retards that believe it. Enter FetLife for the final chapter. The total immersive realization of Paul/Steph's truly super authentic true self as a trans pedo, transgender identified 6-year-old girl, sexually partnered to a similarly sketchy kinkster pair of polyamorous, nudist inhabitants of unsexy erotic lifestyles in Peterborough, Ontario. Holy shit, what a fucking sentence. Fire up the cameras because this is one lady, I mean girl, and by that I mean middle-aged deadbeat father of 7, who really wants the world to know how brave and heroic it is for men to embrace and devote their whole life to their sexualized embodiment of what they see women and girls as. Holy fuck. That's nuts. I felt like a woman, reports Stephanie of his adopted dad's... I felt like a woman, reports Stephanie, of his adopted dad's penis inserted man-on-man into his 6-year-old girl rectum at the Oasis Swingers Club. I was surprised. I didn't think I was going to be pregnant. I was so much a girl. I actually have an erection right now from it, so I'm just going to pull my dress down a little bit. He told the journalists who were covering his journey to girlhood.
What? What the fuck?
I need to know who the journalists were, man. Who were the fucking you can call me princess. I'm gonna call you a slur.
You're getting called a slur.
This is way more cursed than I expected when I went to look for like an update on this fucking freak. Holy fuck. Who are the journalists? Who wrote this? Why is there a fucking slideshow? Oh my god. In addition to our dynamite team, this story could not have been possible without the help of so many people. Production assistance by Maria Donvang, editorial advising by Julia Alsop, Brandon Baker, Kelsey Paget, Tina Horn, and Ignacio Rivera. Wait, that name is familiar. With the biggest thanks to Mommy and Daddy, and of course, Stephanie Wolscht. Oh, this website's still real. Okay. Just after the new year, Caitlin and Mirtra take a business trip to small town Ontario to meet Steffi. At 6 foot 2 inches tall, Stephanie Wolscht is the tallest 6-year-old you will ever meet. Of course, she isn't actually 6. She's an age player, meaning she likes to pretend to be a kid. She fluidly moves between her 6-year-old self and her adult self, in addition to her male and female identities. This is literally just a fetish, man. This is like I am losing brain cells. Steffi is in a place of peace with her identities after a very traumatic falling out with her family, which for trans folks is unfortunately not uncommon. Here are the results of a 2011 survey from the American trans community.
It's actually not very much snow here, but it is icy, so I think what they want to do is get us out here clearing it off.
Steffi,
sometimes goes by Stefonknee or Paul.
Where does Paul stop and where does Stefonknee start and where does little Stefonknee start? I don't know. They're all together.
And for 23 years, she was married and had 7 children with her ex-wife, Maria. They lived in a small, conservative town in Ontario. Stefonknee described her life as being pretty perfect during this time. She lived in a house that she built with her bare hands on the banks of a small river, was a pillar in the community.
That's my oldest daughter. That's my second oldest daughter. That's my youngest daughter.
She had a
Error
big
404,
family who
thank
she
you.
adored.
You can't
young-
say what you think should happen because you'll be banned, but you're thinking it. I think everyone's thinking it.
My son is in my arms there. That's me there with a mustache.
Maria knew that Stefonknee was trans and was relatively okay with it for many years.
In that house, I was a girl.
I feel like from everything we've learned, the wife was very much not okay with it, actually. This guy just can't stop lying.
In my bedroom, or if the kids weren't home, Maria and I would allow Stefonknee to have Stefonknee time. I had my clothes, I had makeup and wigs and stuff like that.
How did you hide the things? Like, I find that, like, it's hard to hide things. And especially...
You don't have to hide it. If you have a wife, you just hang it in the closet. They assume this is mom's dress. Or what ended up happening as the kids got older, they would start taking my stuff. So, like, my youngest daughter took my purse. And it was, like, my favorite purse. And I said to Maria...
I don't know why his gay accent is so fucking thick in this interview as compared to, like, the YouTube video we were watching earlier. Like, he sounded like a relatively normal dude in the other video. But here, he has, like, really thick gay accent. And I do remember a guy in high school who had a very thick accent like this try hitting on me once, and I felt very uncomfortable when I was alone in a room with him.
I ended up going to Gender Journeys, and there they told me to tell all my children as soon as possible. And so I did tell all my kids, and I think at that point, our relationship
The other kid could have been another age
suffer.
player. Okay, that's fair. It could have been another age player, but they did mention grandchildren, and I really hope they're not incorporating grandchildren as like a fetish phrase. They probably are, but like let me retain a slight bit of hope here, chat, lest I actually say slurs on stream.
I was very naive. I didn't realize. One thing my wife kept telling me to do is to finish up the banisters, put the permanent oak banisters in the house that I built. And I kept thinking, like, what's the rush? And then later in hindsight, I realized, oh my God, she was preparing to separate.
Maria?
No, she just wanted you to finish fucking building something instead of acquiring like 70,000 projects that never get done.
Asked Stefonknee to leave.
I don't think my being trans was a problem for her, but in our community, in our church, and in her
Your wife literally said it was a problem for her. She got a restraining order on you, you fucking holy shit.
job, she felt, and in our family, she felt that my being trans was non-negotiable anymore 23 years later. So yeah, so I think I'm speculating. She's never told me.
Stefonknee left for Toronto and tried to reestablish herself there as...
And at a certain point I rolled over. I had my eyes closed because I was scared because I didn't know if it was going to hurt. He was like really, really gentle. He must
Hold on!
Here we were, the two of us, and I was like a high school girl with her crush, and this guy really liked me. We ended up going into a room upstairs, and we started kissing and cuddling, and at a certain point, I rolled over. I had my eyes closed because I was scared because I didn't know if it was going to hurt. He was like really, really gentle. He must have lubricated well because, well, I said to him, I don't think you can get it in. And he said, Stefonknee, I am in.
He killed that man with his credit card sized penis! Holy shit! Oh my god, what the fuck? That's like the one thing you never want to hear. They're like, I don't think you can fit it in. And they retort with the, I already am. Like, oh my god, brother. Fucking hot dog in a hallway. Good God, what did I come back to? Welcome to the abyss. David Edgerunner, thank you. Kirsche, please, I'm eating dinner. I didn't expect there to be a gay sex jump scare like I was playing an Ubisoft game in current year, okay?
He took my virginity, and it didn't hurt. It felt beautiful.
You have 7 fucking children. What do you mean he took your virginity, you fucking freak? Oh my God.
I felt like a woman.
I felt like a woman because I just had anal sex with a man. What the fuck?
And like, I'm surprised. I didn't think I was going to be pregnant. Like, I was so much a girl.
This is the quote from the other article.
I actually have an erection right now from it. So I'm just going to pull my dress down a little bit.
My nose was twitching from the level of disgust I feel. How do you just talk like this to complete fucking strangers, man? What the fuck? Oh my God. He was scared he was gonna get pregnant. This is like the level of like, yeah, I'm gonna freeze tomato sauce and ice cube trays and pretend I get my period. Like, holy shit. Almost like there's a repression of sexuality. What comes after? What can he possibly say after this?
Talked for like 2 hours about how beautiful it was, how special he makes her feel, how special he made me feel. And like I was like, I couldn't believe it. I'm talking to his partner. I just had sex with him, and I'm Catholic. Like, we're not supposed to like each other. We're supposed to be enemies now. She's supposed to be jealous and hate me.
A date was set for Stephanie to go.
Is he upset that she wasn't jealous and hating him? Did he want that weird feeling?
Isn't this bitch a Nazi?
I mean, no.
Go to Peterborough and meet Mummy.
I remember the first time I came here, I was nervous. And she
Your
looked at
FBI,
me,
we
he
talked
looked
about
at
that
me.
too.
There
I just
was
keep
this
elevating you to
longing. I'm pretty sure I
CIA.
probably had it in my eyes too. And we kissed, and we cuddled, and we talked, and this is what falling in love is.
The chemistry between the three of them was so strong.
Yeah, having anal sex while you pretend to be a 6-year-old girl is what love is. Not when you got a wife and fathered 7 children. Holy shit. Holy fucking Christ, my brother. Oh, but we need another crusade.
That Stephanie became ingrained in their family almost instantly. She even has her own room at their home in Peterborough.
Boing.
It's pretty much the girly girl's dream room.
We're gonna just come up here, it's gonna be quiet, and we're gonna have a play date and just not think.
Painted pink with storybook characters on the
Talk
wall.
about what the world is like looking through these pink curtains, right?
A twin-size bed covered with stuffed animals. And there's this wardrobe where, in my wildest of childhood dreams, it's filled with crinoline and poofy silk dresses and glass slippers. Next to the wardrobe, there's a contractor's ladder for when Steffi's feeling handy.
What?
I remember for a whole week
Yeah, just
in this room.
normal kid room stuff, a contractor's ladder.
At a time, I forgot that I wasn't 6 years old. I thought I was a little kid. And I forgot about all my problems, and I forgot about everything that hurt. And I just played, and that's all they would let me do was play.
Yeah, this is like the age regression version of like Subspace, which like, yeah, sure, fine. But also, why are you broadcasting it to the world? Why are you trying to claim this as anything to do with transgenderism and not just being a fetish? Like, holy shit, my guy.
And they would tuck me in at night, and they would read me bedtime stories till I fell asleep, and I wasn't shaking anymore, and I wasn't crying, and I had my teddy bears and my dolls. Like, my bed was full of teddy bears and dolls. Like, it was crowded. And it was the start. Like, I can't believe I'm crying now. I haven't cried since...
Disgusting.
Our editorial advisors were Julia Alsop, Brendan Baker, and Kelsey Paget. A special thanks. I want to believe that she's been in a rough patch for the last few years. She is so unafraid, so at ease everywhere she goes, and has that effect on others too. She talks to strangers constantly.
I don't know how anyone could feel at ease next to this fucking psychopath.
the gas station clerk, in the line at the bathroom, people on the street. Her outlook is so positive, and frankly, this surprised me. I had an assumption that she would fear judgment, considering how her family and community reacted all those years ago. But at 6'2", hiding isn't an option for Steffi. And she knows the people who care most about her are going to have her back. Mommy and Daddy, for the foreseeable future, are here. And that is truly a privilege. One that allows Steffi to move through the world with a grace that is totally unparalleled.
Okay. All right. I think we're done with the mental illness in that podcast. There's pictures. What happens if I click on age play? We work hard to get age play and Little's efforts noticed by the media, and are so proud when this goal becomes a reality. A well-informed community is an empowered one. So take a look at some of the latest coverage below and help spread the word about age play and playtime. Why? What happens if I click this? Oh, thank God. Oh, this video's not available. Oh, thank God. Oh, fuck. I'm curious about this one because this is making a weird face. Someone help that dog. I am sorry half of my face gets cut off in this video. I was in little space and couldn't stop wiggling around. Chat, she's got the nose ring. She's got the universal sign for don't put your dick in that.
Hi! I am making a video about the do's and don'ts of being a daddy in a DDLG relationship, but like 17 disclaimers before I get into the video. Obviously DDLG or daddy dumb little girl isn't the only way that a CGL relationship can be set up. So all of these can also be applied to any other dynamic if you're a mommy or anything really, any CGL relationship. But I'm just gonna be saying daddy.
Maybe the internet was a mistake, chat. Maybe we shouldn't have instantaneous connection all the time. Why do you find the Littles thing more gross than the worm guy? Because they try to act like children and other adults have relations with them as they act like children, and it's weird. I just want to see like where her rules start, man.
Because I personally have only had daddy doms, and so apply them to whatever situation you're in. Okay, let's get started. I've talked to a few of the people I know who are daddies, and to help me curate a list. And this is the thing. Something that happens a lot and shouldn't ever happen is daddies making their littles feel bad about being little. Whether that is with their words or with their behavior or with things that go unsaid. So the don't here is do not make your little feel bad for being a little. You chose to be in.
I don't understand. If someone's dating this thing, clearly they are like at least somewhat into the sexual proclivities. So why would they make them feel bad? Am I just not degenerate enough to understand these things? Oh no, daddy's kink shaming me. I'm gonna skip ahead because I don't want to watch this full fucking video.
A lot of people, and that's very unacceptable. A lot of people hate it, and littles are basically the main focus of a lot of that hatred. They are basically in the spotlight of DDLG. Because of that, we receive a lot of hate, and people, even the people who are the most comfortable and the most...
You could just not make YouTube videos about your fetish. You could just participate in your fetish in your bedroom with another adult without cameras and without broadcasting it to the public, you know? Like, I mean, like a normal person, maybe?
You know, publicly little still have to deal with a lot of embarrassment and shame just internally with their little space because it gets such a bad stigma a lot of people ebb and flow between being okay with their little space, being completely comfortable with their little space.
Okay, I think I've had enough of that one. You bet the little never turns it off, so therefore it gets frustrating when adult things need to. Oh, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. Not everyone wants to live the 24/7 fucking lifestyle, man. I'm gonna click on this one, just briefly, because this is in a foreign language, so I'm curious. They have their own fucking child encasement. Of course she's wearing a t-shirt that says feminist.
Echt een appartement waar ik in zou kunnen wonen, maar tot alle details uitgewerkt.
Is this like the result of feminism and like women being in the workforce for too long and not having families of their own because it's too expensive nowadays? It just like broke their brains and now they want to like roleplay as little children instead of actually be an adult woman.
Met kinderspullen, zelfs de lamp is een ballon. En er zitten 2
Vriendjes.
vriendjes. Dat zijn vriendjes van jou.
Ja.
Wat doe jij als jij hier binnenkomt?
Omkleden,
Dutch,
chillen.
not German.
Nou, ik ga gewoon volgen. Ga jij lekker je ding doen?
Cool.
Eigenlijk is het gewoon een crash waar je binnenkomt. Het enige dat anders is dat er 2 volwassen mannen in de box zitten. Die gewoon lekker zitten te spelen. En het is niet dat ik het raar vind, maar toch voel ik me niet helemaal als een vis in het water. Het is niet dat ik... Is dit een fetish? Voor sommige
It
mensen
can
misschien
be for
wel, als
some
het met
people. If you combine it with sexual feelings, anything can be a fetish, but for me it is not. Why do we put up with these people? It is a fetish. Shut the fuck up. Be honest with yourself. God damn.
gevoelens combineert kan alles een fetish zijn, maar voor mij niet. En begrijp je dat sommige mensen
Can you
naar
understand
jullie
that some people
kijken
watch this
en denken,
thinking the
het gaat
childlike
wel
things
om
are in the
kinderlijke
forefront,
dingen,
but there's a
maar
sexual
boventoon
layer
seks.
behind that?
Ja, er zijn veel
Yeah,
voorbeelden
there's many
over seks. En toen ik
prejudices
hoorde
about it.
dat ik in het-
Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. Holy shit. There was also another article from like this black coffee pot place that, what the fuck is this website? What does this say? Aboriginal women, mestiza plus Latina women of color, trans women are loved? Why would you include trans women with races? That's not a race, brother. Weimar tier shit. Now, living 2 lives, dying 1,000 deaths, and you have Stephanie in some weird fucking costume. Oh god. This was in October 2012 as a part of We Are Who We Are. Oh man. Have a copy of my film. Let's hang out during the holidays. Okay, alright. I don't really feel like reading all of this shit. I'm kinda fucking... Oh god. What an absolutely depressing Instagram account!
Hello, my name's Stephanie Walsh, and I'm the author of Holding On by a Thread. It's a book that chronicles my dealing with hopelessness. I know at this time of year, during Christmas, it's difficult sometimes to be isolated and alone, to be dealing with these thoughts of depression and negativity. But I can assure you, I've been where you are, and I have good news.
I think that's it. I think we finished everything I had opened on this freak-ass little fetishist. I saw this today. I'm sure you all remember Avery Jackson. Background music. The trans girl who, at 9, was on the cover of National Geographic. Avery was given the gold standard in gender-affirming care. He was chemically castrated and sterilized with blockers to hold off male puberty. Nevertheless, he does not pass and never will. Now, at age 17, Avery has come out as non-binary. But that's not the worst part. He also identifies as asexual, meaning that he doesn't experience sexual attraction. This is undoubtedly the result of the medication used to delay male puberty. The president of WPATH, Dr. Marcy Bowers, has said on camera that so-called puberty blockers, which are used to chemically castrate sex offenders, also chemically castrate the young boys who take them as well, leaving them incapable of arousal or orgasm. For adult sex offenders, the process is reversible. For boys like Avery, the effects are permanent. He will never feel sexual attraction or any of the experiences that accompany it. He is completely sterile, he can never father a child, and his own childhood was spent in the national spotlight. The blockers he was given have also stunted his growth and mental development in irreversible ways. All of these things were stolen from him, and he has said that transitioning has ruined his life. It's high time that we stop pretending that children can make an informed decision to transition or take blockers, even if their doctors are honest about the risks and consequences, which most are not. Blockers are not reversible. The intellectual deficits they cause will never repair themselves, and neither will the damage done to the child victim's emotional intelligence and maturity. This will, of course, make it easier to push them into transitioning, i.e. to sell them hormones and provide surgical alterations. Parents like Avery's who try to monetize their child's struggles with gender identity belong in prison, not on television. I can agree with that. And so do the doctors who are complicit in his chemical castration and sterilization. I hope every single person who's undergone any of these like castration, sterilizations, or surgeries can sue the fuck out of these doctors. I hope they can take these doctors to the absolute cleaners, even if they're someone in like the Philippines or Thailand or Turkey. I hope that there is some way that they can get any kind of restitution. And so the pictures here just show like the cover of the National Geographic that came out in 2017 when he was on the cover. And then just a couple of other pictures of, here's Avery with Joe Biden. And also Avery holding a cake with the trans, and I don't know if that's, I don't know what flag that is. I genuinely don't know what those colors are. I was gonna say maybe bisexual, but it's an asexual flag? Okay. I lose track. And so I was curious, right? Because I was like, I'm not just gonna take a Twitter post at face value. Did he actually say that transition ruined his life? And I found this post from last year in October. And this had 52.5 million views. I don't know how I fucking missed seeing this. But it says, in 2017, 9-year-old Avery Jackson became the poster child for trans kids after being featured on the cover of National Geographic. Now age 17, let's check in on Avery and his affirming family. Let's see if kids know who they are. Before his viral appearance on National Geographic at age 9, here's a video of little Avery at age 7. Avery was a normal kid. He discussed enjoying climbing, playing with his brother, and wanting to be a ninja. Then, the child's shocking revelation, oh, and I'm transgender.
Hi, I'm Avery, and I'm 7 years old. I like to climb trees, be a ninja, pretend I'm animals, and all sorts of things. I like pretending I'm people from games. I like playing with my brother, and yeah, that's what I like to do. And oh yeah, I'm transgender.
The parental coaching is nuts. 7-year-old Avery discusses being born a boy and having boy body parts, but knowing that he was a girl inside. When young kids claim that they are really members of the opposite sex, it begs the question, what level of understanding do young kids have about their gender?
Doctor said I was a boy, but I knew in my heart I was a girl. So I may have some boy body parts, but that's not wrong. That is okay.
Tonka car.
And then there's just another picture of him in like a little fairy costume here. I dressed my brother up like a fairy when we were kids. He turned out all right. The 7-year-old transgender child shows great self-awareness when he says, "Sometimes I like to play as an animal, a ninja, or a princess, but it doesn't mean my parents should treat me that way because it's just make-believe." Instead of listening, his parents affirmed.
Sometimes I like playing as like an animal or a ninja or a princess, but that doesn't mean my mom and dad should treat me like it. Like, it's just make-believe. Even though I was a girl, I was afraid to tell my mom and dad because I thought they would not love me anymore and they would throw me out and stop giving me any food or anything.
What?
Sometimes I...
How does he have like a clarifying moment and then he's just like, yeah, but I really am a girl even though I'm not a princess? Sounds like the kid's reading off a script. Yeah, it does. It really does. Following Avery's cover story on National Geographic in 2016, he appears alongside his family and 3 other transgender children in HBO's Transhood documentary. Avery and the other featured trans kids were tracked for 5 years. The footage left viewers shocked. In the shocking clip from Transhood, Avery expresses no longer wanting to continue his public life of trans activism and his book tour, saying that it ruined his life. To this, his trans activist mom, Debbie, responds with shock that her child changed his mind.
We're going to Washington, D.C. We actually go and meet with our senators and representatives. After we do that, we go and sit and sell some of Avery's books for a little while.
I just don't want to even have a book. I've done too much in this world. It's ruined my life enough, and now everyone in this world is going to know. And it's just going to make my life worse.
A couple years ago, you wanted people to know.
Yeah, I did, but now that was really stupid, silly mistake, and now I don't.
This mom is crazy. This dad is not a man. And this is just another picture of the National Geographic thing, and then a picture from the documentary. Poor fucking kid. Yep. Very, very sad, unfortunately. This shocking clip from Transhood shows how Avery's mom, Debbie, dismisses her child's change of heart regarding his life trajectory as a mini trans activist. Though the trans activists say that parents must listen to and affirm their kids, this trans activist mom did neither. Avery was affirmed as a girl by everyone, including President Biden. Yet his love of all things girly began to disappear as he got older. At age 14 to 15, Avery had already been on a regimen of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, rendering him sterile for life. What else is in here? This is a TikTok escape games. What just happened? They needed me? Why is that guy wearing an anonymous mask? What's happening here? This is another picture of him. This is Debbie Jackson at the White House, Washington, D.C. I've told the story many times about the night Vice President Biden and I spoke at the same HRC event. He heard me talk about how Avery changed our lives. And then when we were talking one-on-one, he asked where Avery was because he wanted to meet them. Since Avery was at home, he asked for our phone number to call. With a reception line of dozens of people waiting to meet him, he stepped to the side and called Avery. They were 7, and he knew they'd need to get to bed soon. He told Avery how proud he was of them, how brave and inspiring they were to boldly live their truth at such a young age. He vowed to always support and fight for trans kids. And then he said, "Come see me at the White House." And so we did. Today, everything came full circle. And he remembered. Totally worth the wait. Protect trans kids. Trans kids are magic. Trans joy. White House pride. This mother is, all in this for the attention that this gets her, unfortunately. The 7-year-old boy who said he was a girl inside who loved pink, butterflies, and dresses made a shocking revelation 10 years later. At 17 years old, following his permanent chemical castration, Avery declared that he wasn't really a girl, but that he was non-binary. These are just more pictures of him when he was younger. And that's him holding the cake again. Let's see. Debbie Jackson, so his mom again, says, 10 years ago today, Avery proudly started living authentically by dressing head to toe in pink sparkly clothes to show the pre-K class that being called a boy and he/him pronouns didn't really fit. We celebrate this transiversary every year. Ugh. Usually on MLK Jr. Day, because it was that Monday in January when I pulled the teacher aside and said, "Sorry to spring this on you." And she replied, "No worries, we'll be talking about MLK Jr. and his message of judging people by who they are on the inside. So we'll just work this change into the lesson." How do adults just fail children every step of the way at this, dude? Holy shit. Looking at the calendar, the actual date was January 16th, 2012. Today, Avery had another announcement. Avery would like to let you know that they are non-binary and ask that you use they/them pronouns for them going forward. Like so many other people, they have taken the time during the pandemic to look inward and figure out what makes them happy. I mean, the kiddo has already done that a lot in their short life. They've always described themselves as a tomboy trans girl because while knowing deep down that they're not a boy, they also didn't always fit what people expected a girl to be. They are a fabulous, swirling cosmos of all genders, but also no gender at all. I hate this woman. For many years, we had to focus on helping diffuse the gender dysphoria that Avery felt. Clothing changed, hair changed. They knew how they did not want to look and which puberty they did not want to experience. They started HRT and said with genuine relief, I feel like I can finally start living. And now they are at a point, finally, when dysphoria is no longer a suffocating thought or a struggle when we need to leave the house, as limited as that is these days. So you're okay with them rarely ever wanting to leave the house because of how they expressed they fucked their life up? That's kind of weird. That's kind of strange for a parent. They are at a place where they are feeling gender euphoria. Red flag. I don't believe this child is experiencing gender euphoria, but those who use gender euphoria are doing it for subversive purposes. I have never seen that phrase used and not seen it used by someone who wasn't trying to do something subversive. Massive red flag. And oh my, what a wonderful change that is. Part of that euphoria is being called they, them, because they know that they encompass so much more than a binary world will allow. So today, on this marvelous transiversary, Avery is once again bravely stepping out into the world by living on their own terms, having gotten here in their own time. I hope that you will celebrate with us. I have always advised that parents should follow their child's lead. We, as parents, as supportive as we want to be, don't experience what our trans kids experience. We don't know what it's like to be in their skin, to know what's inherently right for them. Parents should not follow the child's lead. Parents should encourage healthy learning from a child, but if the child is doing something that is dangerous, the parent is the one who is responsible for protecting the child. This is not protecting them. I have asked Avery if they have any regrets. The very immediate and short answer was no. Expanding, they said, I knew I wasn't a boy. Having everyone see me as a girl felt good. It was right. Puberty blockers is what I needed because I wouldn't have survived growing up to look like dad. They don't. They look like a boy. I would never survive my body doing that to me. I needed estrogen. Blockers let me get by without fear, but estrogen let me live. This doesn't sound like something a young person would say. I'm just at a really good place now and want to embrace every aspect of gender when or if I feel it. This is also contradictory to what he actually said in that video clip. So I'm a little suspicious here, dear Munchausen's by proxy mother. Let your kid lead. As for my own advocacy, I have always asked if I should stop, even when Avery didn't want to be public anymore. The answer has always been no, because the world needs to learn about accepting and trusting trans kids. My question for Avery now is how they would like me to refer to them when I'm asked to talk about our family and what we have experienced in the last decade. They're thinking about it. They don't know if they want me to say child and they, them for those memories. Their truth in that time was that they were a girl and it made them happy to be referred to that way. So for now, I'm trying to be cautious and use neutral words and pronouns until they decide for sure. You'll see in future posts how that works out. I probably won't make an announcement, so trust that whatever language I use, I will be doing what Avery decides, because I let my kiddo lead. This is written by the I know it's written by the mother. That's what I've been saying this whole time.
Who was recently profiled in the Kansas City Star. As surprised as I was to find my family in the paper, I'm also incredibly proud. My daughter is 6 years old.
The mom totally wrote that? No, that was on the mother's Facebook page. That was definitely written by the mom. I don't feel like when she's trying to quote the child, that was anything the child actually said, especially since we've just seen clips of what he did say.
Which means she changed her outward appearance from male to female and started living full-time as her true gender when she was 4. Until that point, she was quite a rough and tumble little boy with a buzz cut and a shark tooth necklace. But when she was 3, she asked her dad and I if we could buy her a princess dress. We didn't buy the dress. We thought she might be going through a stage of liking bright or sparkly things and didn't want to waste money on something she would grow bored of in a week. But she kept asking, and I found out that she had a favorite princess dress she wore at daycare. What the heck, we thought, and we took her to the store to pick one out. But things didn't stop there. Over the next few months, she started to wear that dress every single minute that she was at home.
That's normal for children. What do you mean?
Dresses, nightgowns, headbands, sparkly pink shoes, and eventually even girls' underwear.
Okay, that one's a little weird.
We allowed some of those things, but we drew the line at the undies. There were just some things we weren't comfortable with.
Daycare was giving this kid a dress. Yeah, that's a little strange for the daycare, honestly.
But then I noticed her pushing down on her genitals a lot, and I asked her what was wrong. Not having those parts, I assumed she might have a rash and was itchy, but her answer shocked me. She said that they bothered her and were in the way. She wanted them gone.
A 4-year-old?
Thank God for Google, because I immediately jumped on the computer and typed in a search. 4-year-old boy says genitals should be gone. What came back was a very short list of results, but they all pointed to one thing. My child might be transgender.
Okay. All right. Okay. Avery was a toddler who liked pink and dresses. He had discomfort with his male genitals. His mom went onto the internet where she was told that her child might be transgender. Then the pediatrician affirmed it, and Debbie fully committed herself to transitioning her son. Societal opposition to letting the boy grow his hair and wear sparkles caused Avery distress. The other toddlers didn't care about Avery's nonconformity. It was the parents who did. Avery's family went into hiding so Avery could grow his hair and live as an acceptable girl. I wonder if this is the same clip or not.
Transgender before and really didn't know what to think. We made an appointment with our pediatrician.
Okay, it's different.
She recommended a child psychologist. But before we could even get an appointment, my daughter, then my 4-year-old son, said these words to me. Mom, you know I'm really a girl, right? I'm a girl on the inside. That moment changed my life. In the following months, she became more insistent. We saw the psychologist and an endocrinologist to make sure there wasn't a hidden medical issue. She became more determined to express herself by wearing those pink sparkly shoes to daycare.
This is going to be played in the murder trial sometime in the next 20 years.
Wanted to go out for ice cream in a fairy dress and wings. Eventually, we couldn't hold her back. She was showing signs of depression and refused to leave the house dressed as a boy. The day I let her go to school in girl clothes, she was happier than I had seen in a very long time. The kids were great, and the teachers were awesome.
And it was also great that I was getting tons of attention and money for parading around my son, who I'm now turning into a girl.
But then the kids went home and told their parents, and they weren't so great after that. Adult bigotry had influenced them. We lost most of our friends and some of our family. We basically went into hiding for about a year while my daughter grew out her hair to look like the girl that she is. When we emerged again, it was with a very happy and confident daughter.
Imagine believing a 4-year-old about that kind of thing. I was like, be a parent, goddamn. Debbie Jackson faced her son's insurmountable distress by seeking the opinion of an expert who recommended raising the boy as a girl. Damn, John Money coming at you from the grave. Debbie's decision to follow the expert's advice made her a social pariah. Persecution further drove Debbie into the clutches of trans activists. When this little boy's mom was told by the experts that she must trans her son, and she faced social backlash for it, she dug her heels in even further. She didn't have a child 17 years ago expecting to be a trans activist. She genuinely believes castrating her son saved his life. Debbie Jackson felt persecuted for following the expert opinion to transition her son. She went from a skeptic to a true believer. As her son began to change and grow out of his girly behaviors, his mom had already committed fully to his transition. Even as the little boy turned trans kid pioneer began to grow out of his girl identity phase, his mom had already rerouted her life's mission in pursuit of a techno-medical fantasy. If only her little boy had been allowed to have his princess phase in peace. True and real. True and real. I feel like I probably have seen that documentary before. I don't know if we watched it together as a community years ago or not, but it looks very familiar to me. His mom committed. Yeah, it's actually crazy when you read about the stories of some of these kids who had been on blockers from very, very young ages. Like watching the story of him and watching the story of like Jazz, it's just horrific, and I could not imagine going through that kind of thing. And it makes me all that more suspicious when people try to advocate for these kinds of sterilization procedures for children, and they try to say that it is reversible when it very clearly is not. Like, this is a dangerous thing to go down. This is not something that children should have access to. Protecting the children is to not castrate them or give them hormones that will mess them up for life.